So thank you for attending this Bhagavad Gita study series. So we are now studying the third chapter on Karma Yoga, which is a very, very important chapter. And this portion that we are studying is one of the most important portions and most practical portions of the Bhagavad Gita. As usual, we'd like to acknowledge Swami Paramatmananda Saraswati for his discourses, which is what we are studying, for his traditional rendering of Vedanta, as was done for 1,000 years, starting with Adi Shankaracharya. So we'll say a small chant. Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Sadashiva Samarambam Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam. Salutations to the lineage starting with Lord Sadashiva, with Adi Shankara at the middle, and continuing up to our immediate teacher Swami Paramatma Saraswati. Okay, with this, let's okay. So this is the outline. So we saw the Bhagavad Gita has to be studied in a structural way. We saw the concept of the three shatkams, right? The Prathama, Madhyama, and Charama Shatkam, each talking about one concept. So in the Prathama Shatkam, it's about Atma, the Jiva. So in the third chapter, this is how it's divided. First part we saw, which is Krishna tells Arjuna, okay, sannyasa is not suited for you. Arjuna's only aim is to run to the forest and become a sannyasi. So he says no. So in the second portion is he says why, and he describes the glory. He describes karma yoga. So that is the portion we are studying now. 8 to 19 shlokas number. Okay. Now, as I said, this entire portion, this is one of the most important portions and most relevant for our lives. It's an expansion of 2 shlokas in the second chapter. So one of them is Karmanyevadhikaraste ma phaleshu kadachana ma karma phalahetur bhuhu ma te sangostva karmani. Okay, your right is to the action only. Karmanyeva adhikara, right, is only to the action. Ma phaleshu, not to the phala, which is the results at any time. Kadachana. Ma karma phala hetuhu buhu, which means hetu is the cause or the motivation. Karma phala hetu means the karma phala being the motivation or the cause for your action. So he says, don't perform actions with the results as the cause, because what it does, we'll slowly see that. I will going into the 6th chapter, it's covered in detail. It perturbs your mind, it causes a clinging, a craving, and that perturbs your mind, and it's not good for our entire aim in this yoga process is to steady the mind, and this is works contra to that idea. So ma karma phala hetur buhu ma te sango astu akarmani. Don't take don't get attached to inaction. Akarmani. Ma te sango astu akarmani. And then the 48th shloka. Yogasta kuru karmani sangam tyaktva dhananjaya siddhya siddhyo samo bhutva samatvam yoga uchyate. Yoga, do yoga actions as yoga. Sangam tyaktva dhananjaya, without attachment to the anything, to the results. Siddhya siddhyo samo bhutva. So without attachment, he's describing here siddhya asiddhyo. Siddhi is success, perfection, or failure. Don't worry about that, just do the action. So that is what he's saying. And then now Krishna will explain in this portion why this is important. So even in the Upanishads, it all says do karma as yoga, That is the only way karma will not cling to you. So the karma phala, this thing is what causes the cycle of rebirth. We saw that, right? So for a yogi, karma ashukla akrishnam yoginaha trividam itaresham. The yogi's karma is neither white nor black. For the rest of us, it is of three kinds. And only when you do it as yoga actions, then the karma won't cling to you. So Krishna tells the secret in the eighth shloka. Very, very important. So all these shlokas are very, very important. And this has a lot of subtle meaning. So it's good to soak on these shlokas and reflect on them later too. It may look very dry, says yajna, all that, but we'll see the subtler meaning. So, and some stories we'll see, so that you will appreciate, okay, this is what he's trying to say. Okay. Niyatam kuru karma tvam karma jhayo hya karmanaha sharira yatra pichate na prasiddhyeta karmanaha. Even the maintenance of body will not be possible without action. So, and then he says, okay, here is where he gives the secret. Third, 3.9. Yajñātat karmanon yatra lokoyam karma bandhanaha tadartam karma kaunteya mukta sanga samachara. Very, 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 very important shloka. I should have put a star here. I'll do that later. In this world, we saw this last time, so I'm not going to go into word by word meaning. In this world, actions done for any other reason other than yajna, he uses the term yajna now, are bound by karma. We'll look into the term yajna in detail. Okay, I've just written sacrifice for greater goods. Not sacrifice meaning, that doesn't mean animal sacrifice or anything. You're giving up something for a greater good. For that reason alone, perform actions free from attachments. Mukta Sangha Samachara. Mukta is free, Sangha is attachment, Samachara is do. Okay? Tadartham karma kaunteya. For that purpose only, O Kunti's son, Kaunteya is Kunti's son, which is Arjuna, do this. Okay? So far, everything clear in this portion? Now, okay, so he gives the secret. Only when you do actions as a yajna, then you will be freed from the effects of karma. Okay, and this also we saw in the beginning, the wheel, this cycle, wheel of life, it was set in motion. How was it? Sahayajna praja srishtva purovacha prajapatihi anena prasavishyatvam eshavostvishta kamaduk. This is also a beautiful verse. Prajapatihi, the creator, Brahma, in the beginning, he just didn't create human beings. He created it with yajna. Saha yajna praja srishtva. Saha is with yajna. Praja is all of us, human beings. Srishtva is to create. Then Puro uvacha prajapati. Puro, long time ago, uvacha told who? Prajapati, Brahma. Anena prasavishyatvam. By this, anena, by this, prasavitsyas, may you multiply. Eshavo astvishta kamadukha. This will be your kamadenu cow, the fulfiller of all your desires. And if you see, this is what other Swamis, when you listen to their discourse, they go into detail. Even in the Abrahamic religions, something like this is said. The only difference is there they interpret it as all the animals are given to us for us to use. All the world resources are for us to use. So, and that's where they make a mistake, and that becomes it's not a sustainable thing. So that also Krishna is going to explain next, how the concept of how everything is intertwined. So this is actually, these are powerful, and it's very applicable to us too. The secret here, if you listen to the discourses of Swamiji's, they'll go into great detail. It is when you do an action just for the sake of benefiting others, there are two things that happen. You become more attractive. Nobody likes selfish people. When somebody sees that one is trying to acquire, there's some kind of repulsion that is developed. Whereas when somebody is trying to give, then naturally a sense of affinity develops. So the secret is, don't try to see the karma pala, what I will get, but just give and things will come to you. In fact, a lot of these people, um, when they take this big steps, they're quitting their job to do something higher. They don't even know what's in store. What they say is, it's said in the Upanishads, the world will come and lift you when you have this mission. It's very scary to just throw your job and take up a noble cause, but, to eradicate hunger, poverty, children, all that stuff. The world will come and lift you, because that is the energy you. So there are a lot of these subtle things here. We'll see that in the next few shlokas. Otherwise, if you just think of it as yajna puja, it'll become very dry. So there are a lot of subtle things, so we will go into the details of that. Okay. Regarding Kamadhenu, so we saw, I wanted to tell a story, but I'll reserve it for a little later. This, like I said, this chapter will have so many stories, so we can't. Then it'll be a story class. So I will do it. But we saw how Bhishma was Prabhasa, one of the 8 Vasus, right? And he was cursed by Vasishta because he tried to steal Kamadhenu. Kamadhenu is a divine cow, fulfiller of all the desires. And Kamadhenu, how does Kamadhenu come? From the churning of the ocean of nectar. Shiro Dhanvat Pradesham. Okay. Now, okay, so this yajna term, I've kind of loosely said it is sacrifice done for a greater good. Now let's analyze a little more in depth what the yajna means. Yaj means to worship. Yuj means to yoke. The word yoga comes from yuj, to yoke. Okay, the word yajna comes from yaj, to worship. So there are 2 different roots. We saw also that the Vedas is divided into 2 portions. There are 4 classifications, but the entire Vedas, the initial portion is called Karma Kanda. Remember, everybody remembers that? We saw that. And then the latter portion is called Jnana Kanda. That is the Upanishads, or it's also called Veda Anta, the end of the Vedas. Okay, everybody clear with this? So the latter portion talks only about moksha. The first portion talks about artha, kama, dharma, moksha, the 4 pursuits of human life. Okay. Now let's look at the word yajna. Yajna, it means worship, as I said, worship done with. So there are 2 ways to do this. You want to acquire something. You want a child, or you want something even more noble. You want rains, and you want um, welfare of the country. Then in those days they did yajnas on a large scale. Okay, yajna, it's a worship. So what they do, they're prescribed ways of doing the yajna. The results of the yajna can be sakama or nishkama, both. Sakama means I want to go, I want to desire, I want a child, I want to go to heaven. We'll see a story of that also. That's also, it's according to the Vedas, that's also okay. Sakama and Nishkama Yajna. Okay. Now, there, so the Yajna, so that it's very precisely described in the Vedas. So if you want to worship in this way to get rains, for example, then you have to build an altar made of so many bricks. So in Kathopanishad, it's one of the very famous Upanishads, where this little boy, 8-year-old boy, goes to Nachiketa, around 8 years approximately, pre-adolescence. He goes to, Nachiketa goes to Yama, the Lord of Death, and he asks about what happens after death. In that, how the story begins with his father wanting to go to heaven. So he makes a very great yajna called Vishwajit Yajna. His father's name was Vajasra Vasha. Vajashravasa. And this yajna has to be built with 720 bricks, very precise. All these, it's a big altar. This is a small altar, but that one is big, 720 bricks. You have to use the right ingredients, ghee, right grass, and it's a fire sacrifice. So you have to do that. And the mantras have to be precisely uttered. So you get all these rishis, the pandits to do that. And at the end, what should you do? Give away all your wealth. So that is the Vishwajit Yajna. And Nachiketa, he sees his father tricking. He's giving away cows which are close to death. They don't give milk, they can't produce other calves. He's giving them away. So he feels his father is not going to get the benefits of the yajna if he's cheating. And that's how the entire story starts. He says, I am your most valuable possession. You should give me away. Who will you give me to? The little boy doesn't know, right? So he asks. Then his father gets irritated, like he will say, go to hell, like that. He says, to death I will give you. And then he takes it very literally. This little boy goes to the abode of Yama and asks him these questions. So that is Kathopanishad. So the reason I brought it up, it's also starts with a yajna to go to heaven. Okay. Now, in the previous day, so the yajna, as I said, it's worship for greater good. So at the end of a yajna, some people will have a great feast. Some people will give all their wealth. So it's something done on a large scale to benefit things. And all these mantras, they were supposed to be sacred, that it'll have some kind of vibration with the environment. It brings good. These days, the yajnas are lesser. Instead, they've replaced it with pujas. So previously, in times of Krishna, this is the Dwapara Yuga, previous Yuga, I don't know, 6,000, 7,000 years ago, yajnas were very popular. Okay? And this is a very common yajna, Pancha Maha Yajna. This is what everybody is supposed to do. 5 types of yajnas which people should do. One is Deva Yajna, worship of gods. So as I said, yajna can have its worship, but it can have sakama with some desire, or nishkama, just for mind purification. Because the gods sustain us, the Deva, and then Brahma Yajna. This is knowledge. And what we are doing, studying now, Krishna will later say, study of Bhagavad Gita is the greatest, it's very big Brahma Yajna. You're studying about Brahman. It's so powerful. And Krishna will give, so it says, those who study, we've already seen that you go to heaven, or it's like doing a big Jnana Yajna, big benefits. Then Pitri Yajna, our ancestors. So we've gotten this body because of our ancestors. So thanking them. Then Manushya Yajna, other people in need, helping them. And you'll get some benefits as a result. Bhuta Yajna, feeding all that's why in India, so after a puja, they'll keep these things outside for dogs or crows, all that stuff. So living in harmony with other beings and other celestial or things that you can't see. Drishta Anushravika Vishayam, and also um, um, Drishta Adrishta things that are what you can see, what you cannot see, living in harmony with everything. That is what the purpose of the yajnas were. Okay. So it's very similar to karma yajna, karma yoga. The only thing, yajna will also includes, you can get some benefits also, and the karma won't cling to you when you do it as offering to something bigger. Okay. So far, everything clear? I've kind of tried to explain what a yajna is. It requires a lot more. If you want, I can give you some YouTube references to know more about this, because these days they don't do the yajnas that much. So and those times it was done so much, so that Krishna uses this as example in the third, fourth. he will again use this in the fourth chapter. So that's why I'm kind of telling in those days how it was done. Okay, these mantras have to be chanted very precisely. um, if you don't chant it precisely, some counter effects will happen. And I promised you a story. I will come to the story soon. Okay, on Indra and Vrutra. So this is the last shloka we studied in the last class. Devan bhavayatanena te deva bhavayantu vaha parasparam bhavayantaha shreya param avapsyatha. By propitiating these devas with these yajnas, may those devas propitiate you. Propitiating one another, you shall attain the highest good. Devas are symbolic presiding deities for over forces of nature like rain, etc. Um, Indra is a lot of rain, Varuna is a lot of oceans. So messages live in harmony with nature, and just don't try to be grateful for what you have gotten. So that's what Krishna says, because there is some kind of link, even though it is not a tangible link, between these forces of nature and how you lead your life. So live in harmony with nature is what it's trying to tell us. And by doing that, you will elevate yourself. So parasparam bhavayanta shreya, propitiating one another, you shall attain the highest shreya, param shreya, greatest good you will attain. Then this is for this class. We stopped at 11 last class. Ishtan bhogan hivo deva dhasyante yajna bhavitha tairtattana pradayebhyah yo bhunkte stena eva saha. The devas propitiated by the yajna will give you the desired objects. And Krishna uses a powerful word. He uses stena, one who enjoys these objects without offering them in return. So offering something in return is called stena evasaha. Is indeed evasaha means that person indeed is a thief. Stena is a thief. So who's a stena? Tair dattan apradayebhyah. Apradayebhyah means one who doesn't offer in return for what they were for, to Tair, to them, Tattan giving, um, and without offering. Punkte, who enjoys, that person is indeed a thief. Okay. Ishtan Bogan, so the devas will, propitiated by Yajna, they will give you the desired object. So that's what he's trying to say. The deities will bless you with gifts when they are propitiated by Karma Yoga. And Karma Yogi will not exploit nature to feed their greed. That's the message here. Then, Yajna Shishtashina Santaha Muchyante Sarva Kilbishai Bhunjate Te Tvagam Papaha Ye Pachantyatma Karanat. Okay. Those noble people who partake of the remnants of the yajna are freed from impurities. But those sinners who cook only for themselves, or basically who want to do things only karma only for themselves, they eat only sin. So strong words he is using. Okay. So what does Krishna mean by who partake of the remnants of the yajnas? So one way to literally interpret is they do this yajna after, so they have all these offerings around, um, and then it's purified by the yajna. You eat that food just like a puja. After puja, you eat the prasada. It's considered purified um, because of the yajna. So that's one literal way. Another way to interpret it is remnants of the yajnas means those who do this all the time, and then they use nature. So they they want to cut a tree to build a house, they do that. But they also build, sustain the forests, replant, and also offer, do these yajnas. They are taking, but they're also giving back. It's not like one way. So that's another way to implement. Yajna shishta shina santaha. Santaha means those noble people, the saints, um, who take the yajna ashnaha, it's to eat, those who eat the remnants of the yajnas. Yajna shishta santaha muchante, they're freed. Sarva kilbishai, all kilbishai means it is impurity. So they're freed of all impurities. Bhunjate te, bhunjate means eat or enjoy. Te tu agam papaha. Agam is they eat only sin. Papaha, those sinners. Papaha means papa is sin. Papaha means sinners. Those sinners, they eat only sin. Ye pachant atma karanat, who cook only for themselves or who do actions only for themselves. Is it clear? Ye pachant atma karanat, bunjate te tvagam papaha. Those sinners, they eat only sin. So it's Krishna's, look at the strong words he's using. You don't find these kind of strong words in the Yoga Sutras because it's like a literature, it's like a scientific doctrine. Here, Krishna just very no uncertain terms, he tells these are sinners. So this part is clear to everybody? Yeah? Okay? Yeah. So as I said, there are so many stories in this portion. We'll do a few more shlokas, and please remind me. So I promised you Indra story, and then there's a very famous story from Mahabharata. So we'll see if we can cover those two stories today. So I'll come to this. So we'll do a few more shlokas. I have to do until the 19th today, and then we'll come back to that. Annat bhavanti bhutani parjanyat anna sambhavaha yajñat bhavati parjanyaha yajña karma samudbhavaha. Okay. Annat bhavanti bhutani. Annat bhavanti means from food comes bhutani, living beings. From food comes living are born living beings. Parjanyat anna sambhavaha, from rain. Parjanya is rain. From rain, anna sambhava means it emerges. So food is born of rain. Yajñat bhavati parjanyaha. And how does rain come? Rain comes from yajna. So in previous days, they did yajnas to get rain. So a lot of, so rain is born of yajna, or here you can say merit. Okay, good karma. So in previous days, it was believed that when a kingdom, the ruler was just and did a good job, then you'll get rain. If the rain doesn't come, then the ruler is not doing a good job. That's one reason for the rain not to come. Rain is born of yajna, and yajna karma samudbhavaha. Yajna is born of action, the right action. Requires the right action. So yajna is basically, it's an effort. And so I said one way of doing yajna, so all this is prescribed in the Vedas, is to build the altar, fire worship, all that. There is also another part of yajna, which Krishna is going to describe in later in the fourth chapter in detail. That is the internal yajna. Pranayama, he calls it a yajna. Some people do pranayama, some people study the scriptures like Bhagavad Gita. All those are great yajnas. And the greatest yajna, some people give food to the poor, that is a yajna. Some people give wealth, 10% of their income every month they give. That is a great yajna too. But the greatest yajna is the study of the scriptures. Jnana yajna. Shreya dravyamaya yajna jnana yajna parantapa. So he says dravyamaya, the objects given compared to giving objects, Jnana yajna is shreyaha. Sarvakilam karma nityam jnane parishtitam. So all actions, they culminate in knowledge. Later he'll say that. Sarvakilam karma nityam yajne pratishtitam. Okay, so this is the cycle. Beings, they come by eating food, right? Food comes from rain. Rain comes from yajna, living in harmony with the nature. Okay, by propitiating the gods is how that was done. But now you can think by creating forests, not too much deforestation. So yajna comes from action. So he's talking the importance of action done with a certain attitude. Clear? Karma brahmodbhavam viddhi amakshara samudbhavam tasmad sarvagatam brahma nityam yajne pratishtitam. Okay. Karma brahmodbhavam viddhi. May you understand that karma, which is rituals and prayers, are born of the imperishable Vedas. Now, Brahman, so the Brahma Udbhavam. Okay, Brahma can mean different things. Brahma is one is Chaturmukha Brahmaji, four-headed Brahma. We will use the term Brahma Ji. We'll give a G to address that. Then there is Brahman, which is the consciousness which pervades everything, right? That is Brahman. Brahman also refers to the Vedas because it is the word of the Brahman. Vedas are considered the word of Shruti. So it is here Brahman refers to Vedas. So Sanskrit has to be interprets a live language, which means has to be interpreted based on the context. So here Brahma, karma is born of the Vedas. This is the karma kanda of the Vedas. Karma, brahmodbhavam viddhi. Know that karma is born of the imperishable Vedas. Brahma, akshara samudbhavam. The Vedas are born of the imperishable Brahman, that is the Lord. Okay, aksharam is imperishable. So Brahman, the Lord God, is called imperishable. Tasmat sarvagatam Brahma, the all pervasive Brahman, the Vedas, is always abiding in yajna. So so here actually the Brahman refers to the all pervasive Brahman is always abiding in yajna. So imperishable Lord gave the Vedas. Vedas Karma Kanda tells about all these rituals by which you do yajna. From yajna comes rain, from that food, and from that beings. So tasmat sarvaga brahma nityam yajna pratishtitam. Yes, Ravi?
So I think in this slide you're showing action as the yajna, right? Should yajna be considered, when we say yajna, should we consider that as that sacred thing that we do with the fire and all, or can yajna be considered as something, some action that is done without
Yeah.
looking for the results?
Yeah. So as I just said, so for both, when you're building an altar, all this, it requires a lot of action, precise uttering of the mantras, all that. After that, you're giving away wealth, a lot of things, even charity. So these days, volunteering and teaching, all that, that's also a yajna. All that needs action, right? Then the second type of yajna is internal. Krishna is going to tell in the fourth chapter, pranayama, study of scriptures. As I just said, all those are yajnas. All those come from action. By sitting and doing nothing, you're not doing yajna. Action done with the right attitude. Is that clear? So
Uh,
Krishna is telling the importance of action.
so you added one more thing, which is pranayama. I mean, actions. without looking for the fruits, the sacred thing that we do with the mantras, and also pranayama. All three can be considered as yajna. And
Yeah,
that's what I
Krishna is
understood.
going to say that in detail. So wait until the fourth chapter.
Fourth chapter. Okay,
Yeah, he's
understood.
going to go in great detail. That's why I'm telling about this yajna, so you kind of get a feel for why. Because in those days they did a lot of yajnas. These days we are replacing it with social service, volunteering, where you don't really expect results. Some people still want to become famous, but this is all yajna.
Got it. Yeah, thanks, Ganesh.
Now, as I said, the four, okay, this is important to know. So yajnas, you can get some things out of the yajna by doing this big yajna. Like Nachiketa's father wanted to go to heaven, so he did the yajna. So the Vedas describe four human pursuits, and they tell ways to get that, but do it in a right way as worship. Artha, which is security, which means money, right? That kind of seemingly gives security, seemingly. Kama is pleasure, dharma, righteousness, and then moksha. So all four are okay according to Vedas. Even Krishna will say, even kama, done. Um, Dharma virudat kama, I am uh, that pleasure which is not opposed to dharma. And but the Upanishads only talk about the last portion, moksha, liberation. So here, these yajnas are done also to get this artha, kama, and also dharma. Okay, so that point I wanted to mention. Then Krishna is talking about the wheel that has been set in motion at the beginning of creation. Evam pravartitam chakram nanuvartayati hayaha hagayur indriya ramaha mogam pata sajivati. O Partha, evam pravartitam chakram, this cycle, this wheel of life, chakram is wheel, pravartitam, which has been set in motion, na anuvartayati hayaha, those who do not follow this. Na anuvartanti means follow. Manusha partha vartaman anuvartante, manusha partha sarvashaha. Krishna will tell that later. So what about these people who do not follow the cycle of life that's been set in motion? Those who are selfish, they want to take from nature and don't um, give anything. Agayu indriyaramaha mogam partha sajivati. That person, mogam partha sajivati, that lives his life in vain. Krishna uses such strong words. That person's life is wasted. Mogam, it's just deluded. It's partha sajivati. A person, I should probably write it as that person's life is lived in vain. Agayu. So this person lives a life of sin. Indriya Ramaha. Why does it happen? Because this person wants to just have pleasure. Indriya Ramati means to rejoice, to take great pleasure. Rama means to rejoice. We will see this word extensively in the sixth chapter. Yes, Atma Ratireva Syat, Atma Triptascha Manavaha, Atmanyevaha Santushyaha, Atma uh, uh, Ramati. All these things is to take great pleasure in the senses instead of in the Atma. This person lives, this entire life is wasted. Krishna uses strong words, Mogam Partha Sajivati. This person's life is lived in vain, in delusion. So Krishna uses very strong words to condemn all this. Okay? Yastyatvar atmaratireva syad atmatruptascha manavaha atman eva cha santushtaha tasya karyam na vidyate. Okay, and what about those people who live in accordance with this cycle of life set in motion? That person, Atma Ratir Evasya. So previously, Indriya Aramaha, those who were rejoicing in the senses. Now here, Atma Rati means just like intense pleasure. Rati. That's also in heavenly nymph in Indra's court called Rati. Her entire goal is to disrupt the penances of all these rishis. So Indra, being a very even though he's a deity of rain and all that, he is not a he's a law king of gods. But the joke is that he had the most number of cases against him because he will do all kinds of dirty things. So even the gods, they're not perfect. So don't think gods means they're somewhere here. We can aspire and we can even go higher. That's going to be Krishna's message. 8th chapter, we'll see that. He is going to talk about all that. Even he says, Krishna will say, you can become Brahma. You can take the post. Even Brahma's, he'll exactly tell how much Brahma's life is going to be. And then he'll say how much is a day of Brahma, how many years. You can become one day by doing very great deeds. You can take Brahma's post after Brahma passes away. He's taken from his post. But even that is finite. You can go above that. So what all this says is, even you can go beyond all these deities. So these are all finite. That's Krishna's message. Yes, to Atmarati, strong word, Atmarati, one who develops. The Rati also has like intense, like pleasure. That is, sometimes it can also be misconstrued in a wrong way. But here, Atmarati, one who by going deep. So this is the introduction to the 6th chapter on meditation. Yes, to Atmaratir eva syad. Syad means that person who may rejoice in the self alone. Eva means alone. That person's sole delight is this Atma. Atma triptascha manavaha, one who is satisfied with the self. Tripti is fully content. Atmanyevacha santushtaha, one who is contented, means happy and at ease. So there's a slight difference between tripti and santushtaha. In English, it becomes difficult to translate, but tripti is a sense of satisfaction. You eat well and you feel satisfied. Santushtaha is happiness, without too much agitation of mind, at ease and at happy. So that is called santushtaha. Asya karyam na vidyate. This person has no duties to do. So you have to be very careful here. Doesn't mean this person shouldn't eat or do anything. So because we've studied, niyatam kuru karmatvam karmajayokya karmanaha sharira yatra pichate na prasityet akarmanaha. Even the maintenance of bodily actions is not possible without action. So don't interpret tasya karyam na vidyate. There's no duties for this person. So it has to be taken as no binding nothing to acquire to purify his mind, because his mind is already pure. This person's mind is already pure. He or she can do whatever they want, just the bare minimum duties to sustain life. Okay, so this is an important shloka. So it's saying karma yoga is paving the way for jnana yoga when the person becomes very self-content. So initially, the entire, we've seen that many times, right? Initially, you do more karma yoga, less jnana yoga. In as yoga, become more and more enlightened. More jnana yoga, less karma yoga. More study of scriptures, contemplation, all that. Then moksha. So the reason this is an important shloka, as I said, it's a prelude to the 6th chapter on meditation. That 6th chapter is full of words like this: Atma Tripta, Atmanyeva Atmano Bandhu. Atma's the friend and the foe. So take delight in the Atma. And we saw that in the beginning, Krishna talks about the two paths. So I have to keep reminding, like elementary school and high school, right? Karma Yoga, Jnana Yoga. And here it shows it says Karma Yoga will take you to the Jnana Yoga when you attain the state. And in the 6th chapter also, Krishna will say, Aru Rukshor Muner Yogam Karma Karana Muchyate Yoga Rudasya Tasyaiva Shama Karana Muchyate. So, for the Muni who wishes to climb the path of yoga, karma is the means. Do more actions, do asana, all that, so your mind becomes calm. For the one who has already attained the state of yoga, Shama, peace, stillness, inaction is the means to climb even further to get jnana. So then it's contemplation. More, they call it Shravana, Manana, Nididhyasana. Shravana is listening to all the scriptures. Manana is understanding the meaning. Okay. And Nididhyasanam, you meditate and contemplate the Atma yourself. You feel it. That way it becomes embodied in you. Okay. And a lot of these words you will again see in the 6th chapter. Any questions so far? So being content in the self, we've already seen many times in the 2nd chapter also. Definition of sthita prajna. I'm just bringing it again here. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Prajahati Yada Kaman Sarvan Partha Manogatan Atman Yevatmana Tushtaha Sthita Prajnastadochyate. When a person gives up all desires and satisfied with oneself, with the self Atma alone, that person is known as a person of steady, ascertained wisdom. Okay. All right. So yeah. Then 18th shloka. Naiva tasya kritenartah na kriteneha kaschana na chasya sarva bhuteshu kaschid artavya pashrayah. Okay. Naiva tasya krita artha. Artha means a motto, purpose. Let's say purpose. That person who's content with the self has nothing to gain through action. Naiva tasya kritena artha. No purpose in doing actions because there's nothing really to gain. Na akriteneha kaschana. Not that person can lose anything by inaction. That is, all these rituals that person doesn't have to do. That's the context in which he is using. Nachasya sarva bhuteshu kaschid artha vyapashraya. And that person does not depend on any being for any purpose. Nacha asya, this person, sarva bhuteshu, all beings, kaschid, any purpose, artha, again purpose, vyapashraya means dependence. Ashrayas, like dependence, leaning on to. The person doesn't have any dependence. That's what Krishna says. And then finally, conclusion of this important part. So this is the Karma Yoga part. He concludes saying, Tasmad asakta satatam karyam karma samachara asakto kyacharan karma paramapnoti purushaha. Therefore, always perform well the action that is to be done. Karyam karma samachara, the one your duties, whatever you have to do, karyam karma, the action that is to be done, perform that well. Without attachment. Asakta satatam, always without attachment do. Asakto hyacharan karma, paramapnoti purushaha. Param, the supreme, apnoti, you will attain. The supreme person, you supreme thing you will attain. Purushaha, this person who's doing that. Asakta hi acharan karma, by performing action without attachment, you will gain this. Okay. So, any questions? So, this is the end of the chapter, the portion on karma yoga, which has 2 points. Now, your karma phala should not be the motivation. Karmanyeva adhikaraste ma phaleshu kadachana ma karma phala hetur buhu ma te sangostva karmani. Actions with the right attitude alone can purify the mind. A purified mind can alone attain knowledge. A wise person can one alone be free from suffering. So Krishna says in the 11th shloka, Ashoch of the second chapter, Ashochananvashochastvam prajnavadancha bhashate gatasun agatasuncha nanushocanti panditaha. The wise people are the ones who don't grieve. So, wise person can alone be free from suffering and attain liberation. For that, they need a purified mind to purify the mind actions. Once the mind is purified for receiving knowledge, one can do less actions. This is the entire summary of this portion of the Bhagavad Gita. And Krishna very clearly says, Nahi kaschit kshanamapi jatu tishtatya karma krita karyate kyavashak karma sarva prakriti jair gunai. No one, even for a second, can sit still without performing actions. Everyone, actions could also be mental, right? Even if you're sitting, everyone is helplessly made to perform actions by the gunas, born of Prakriti. And perform obligatory actions. Niyatam kuru karmatvam karma jayokya karmanaha sharira yatra pichate na prasityeta karmanaha. Even the maintenance of the body is not possible from inaction. Okay. All right. So that is the end of this portion. Now, so remember, there. Let's first go to the story of Indra. So, okay. So these yajnas, I said, it has to be done very precisely, right? Which means you have to utter exactly like that. That's why you pay a lot of money to the priests to do that. If you say something a little wrong, then it'll have a different effect. And this problem doesn't occur when you're doing it for self-purification. There, apparently, Vedas give a lot of leeway. Even if you utter the Bhagavad Gita wrong, if it's for self-purification, it's okay. Okay? Now, I wanted to tell a story of Indra. So Indra, as I said, he's a jealous god. He wants to steal. He covets other people's wives. He steals things from others. And if somebody is prospering, he will try to destroy them. So he is that kind of a person. He had angered a rishi. So the rishi gets very upset with Indra and he wants to teach him a lesson. So what does he do? He uses his tapobala and he performs a great yajna. And he goes like on a great scale. And what does he want from the yajna? He is asking for a demon to be born from the yajna, from this fire, a demon. And what would this demon do? The demon will kill Indra. So the exact words are uh, Indra, Indra Shatru Pravartiyam or something. May um, um, uh, this great demon rise to destroy Indra. But when Indra knew about this, that he's trying to do that, he goes to Saraswati and he falls at her feet and says, "Please save me." Saraswati is the goddess of wisdom, of knowledge, and the tongue, that's kind of the tip of the tongue, that's where she resides. So she goes into the rishi's mouth and In Sanskrit, the Indraha means Indra. So Indra Shatru, the enemy of Indra, or Indraha Shatru. Indraha becomes the Shatru. Like Indraha um, Hanti, that means Indra will kill. Indra Hanti means Indra will be killed. So those kind of things, if you're not careful about the intonation, it has a different meaning. So Saraswati goes into the tip of Indra's tongue, and it's not Indra's tongue, the Rishi's tongue, and makes him utter this wrongly. So what happens is that this, due to that, this Indra was not affected, but this the Rishi is not affected, but this demon which is coming, his name is Vritra. The Rishi uttered it in a way that this demon would be destroyed by Indra instead of this demon destroying Indra. Okay, so this, but still, it was a powerful demon. Indra couldn't withstand it, and then Indra. So this is from the yajna. So yeah, yajna which went wrong. So Indra then goes to he knows that we need a very strong, because the Vritra, his skin was unpenetrable by any weapon. Nothing can do anything. So he wanted the strongest material. And somebody told Indra, there is a rishi called Dadichi. This rishi, for a long time, he did meditation in Vajrasana by spine straight. Because of that, his spine was the strongest, became very strong, the strongest material in the world. Indra, you should go to Dadichi and ask for his spine with which you can craft the most powerful weapon and you can kill Vritra. So Indra goes to Dadichi. Look at his thing. He says, to save all of us, can you give up your body and give us your spine? Dadichi, being such a noble person, he says, this is like a big yajna for me. I will gladly give up my body. You can take my spine. Create, and Vishwakarma, the divine architect, he creates a weapon called Vajrayudha. That is Indra's weapon from this thing. And let's see if I have the. So Indra, if you look at the Vajrayudham, it looks very much like it's it's a very powerful. So this is the Vajrasana, right? The spine straight, and Indra gets this Vajrasana, and with this he fights the Vritra and he kills with Vritra with this. So that is the story of the yajna. One yajna is done correctly, the other yajna is done wrong. Okay, so I just wanted to tell that story. There's another story on the mongoose, but probably we'll reserve it for another class because we have to do the chanting. So I will stop the recording.